ορίσατε όσοι δεν ήσασταν πριν εδώ. Θα περάσουμε στο τρίτο workshop, που είναι οι ασφαλείς διαδρομές στο σχολείο. Συντονιστές είναι ο Bruntlett από το Dutch Cycling Embassy και η Moniek Jansen από τη Mobycon.
Milata Aglika, do you all speak English? Okay, Milao Ligo Elenica, so if you have questions, I can understand, but it's hard for me to speak it. Is it in presentation mode as well? Or? Let's try to.
Is it like second screen? Yeah.
I think that's nicer. So, I hear many times in Greece, I'm living in Greece for the past 2 years. I'm originally from the Netherlands. And yeah, I hear everywhere saying, "Ta παιδιά είναι το μέλλον," the children are the future. And therefore, it's as important to have safe ways to school for children. So therefore, we would like to talk about it today. Let's see. How did I get? So, as you look at cities nowadays, you see that the cities are shaped a bit like this. You see pedestrian roads, but actually it's very dangerous to walk on the streets. If you look at Athens, it's even worse in my opinion, because cars are even parked on the pedestrian lanes. And we have to walk in the dangerous spots where you actually fall back. So this is how we experience the streets right now, but imagine how this is for children and yeah, their future. So a little bit about myself. My name is Moniek. I work for Mobycon. Mobycon is a consultancy company specialized in sustainable mobility. And I'm mainly specialized in cycling, walking, and safe streets for children as well. I work in the Netherlands, but also outside of the Netherlands. And the past 2 years I live in Greece, so we haven't done many projects in Greece yet, but I know about the context. And it's very important to think contextually as well. Like, okay, the Netherlands is completely different than Greece, of course. So we like to implement some best practices, but also think about the mindset and how things are shaped. Chris, would you like to
of course. And Moniek is a Netherlander living in Greece. I'm a Canadian living in the Netherlands. I, long-time cycle campaigner from Vancouver, Canada, moved to Delft, that's the photograph you see there, in 2019 to work for the Dutch Cycling Embassy. I've co-authored 2 books on cycling and its potential to transform cities around the world. I work for the Dutch Cycling Embassy. We're a non-profit foundation that was founded in 2011 by the Netherlands national government. We continue to be funded, our activities, by the Ministry of Infrastructure, the Netherlands Ministry. And yeah, every day we work with cities around the world. They come to us with their questions, with their challenges, and we help them as best we can, drawing from our network. And we have now just over 100 organizations that we cooperate with. They're all Dutch organizations based in the Netherlands, consultants like Mobycon, producers like Gazelle, municipalities, universities, public transportation agencies, and depending on the type of cooperation that we're doing, we're able to bring in experts from these organizations for workshops, for study visits, for other virtual webinar or video-based exchanges. The study visits are quite special because we get to bring groups of decision makers, mayors, councillors, deputy mayors, directors to a Dutch city and comparable size, hopefully see that sparkle in their eye when they first experience cycling in the Netherlands, but also get them in a classroom, get them to understand what they just experienced and how it might be translatable to where they came from. And then inversely, we do a lot of workshops where we're bringing the Dutch experts overseas. I was just in America 2 weeks ago. Later this year, we'll be in India, Vietnam, Switzerland. Not Greece yet, but also why we're here is hopefully to help. So we'll jump right into why is this so important? Well, it's UNICEF does this study every 2 years about the happiest children in the world. And, well, the Netherlands regularly ranks at the top of the list, and I'm not here to tell you that mobility is the sole reason why Dutch children are so happy, but I think our argument that it plays a critical role in their health, in their happiness, in their social connections, in their resilience, being able to navigate their city on their own two wheels. But it's not culture, it's not terrain, it's not weather, it is all about the infrastructure. 40,000 kilometers of dedicated, separated cycle paths in the Netherlands, all of which were a political decision, a reallocation of space, a policy choice by all levels of government to make space for cycling. Well, the other thing that Moniek and I want to emphasize is the Netherlands, it wasn't the Netherlands' destiny to be a cycling nation. After the Second World War in particular, they were modernizing themselves around the car. Here in Amsterdam, in this photo here in Utrecht, in every city across the Netherlands, they were widening streets, demolishing buildings, filling in the canals in some extreme circumstances. But the future to them and to the government officials was unlimited automobility, and it's only in response to kind of a couple of historical events that sets them on a very different trajectory. That starts in the 1970s with the road safety crisis. 1972, the Stop the Kindermoord movement forms. That's the Stop the Child Murder. A very visceral, a very direct protest movement started by a newspaper journalist whose daughter was tragically killed on her cycle ride to school in the morning. He poured his grief and his anger into this front page editorial with the headline, Stop the Child Murder. And this lit a fire across the country with the families in particular and the children taking to the streets asking for something different from their elected officials. They could see the lack of space that was being taken away for walking, for cycling, and for playing. And then in and around that time, we have an oil crisis that kind of compounds this challenge. 6 weeks of car-free Sundays, gasoline shortages, bicycle sales skyrocketing. And for a lot of people, this was a light bulb moment to see how much space in their cities they've given away to the car, but also at the political level, how, well, a very car-centric transportation system is actually very fragile to these outside shocks and interferences. But there was no blueprint on how to build a cycling city, and that's why the Dutch Cycling Embassy exists and why we share our knowledge, because there were 20, almost 30 years of trial and error of experimentation in cities across the Netherlands. They were throwing stuff on the ground, seeing what worked and what didn't work. And it's only in the mid-1990s they have this book of best practices that they were able to spread across the Netherlands and to cities around the world. I'm unable to go for time restraints into all 5 of these policies. If you drop me an email later, I can send you more information. I mean, they're outlined in my books, but 2 I want to drill in on is the carrot and the stick. So the carrot, of course, is really high quality, dense networks of cycling infrastructure, make it possible to cycle from anywhere to everywhere within the city. You can see that's my adopted hometown of Delft on the screen there. Almost every resident in the city is connected to a really high quality cycle path, connecting them not just to their office, but to shops, restaurants, schools, public transportation facilities, and everywhere in between. The stick is also necessary, and this is a part where a lot of cities struggle, particularly politically, that we can't just make cycling attractive, we also have to make driving a little bit unattractive, and that is choosing or setting about a hierarchy of roads, pushing through traffic outside of residential areas, outside of commercial areas, onto strategic arterial roads, so that there are fewer and slower cars actually filtering through those residential neighborhoods. And it makes those streets much more safe, much more comfortable, of course, but also means that cycling is much more time competitive when we're talking about short to mid distances within the city. So for Dutch children, yeah, the saying goes they're born on a bicycle. It's not entirely true, but within perhaps a couple of months they are on the front seat of a bicycle or in a cargo bike. And the benefits of this we're just really beginning to understand in terms of the social connection with the parents, the access to nature, the experiencing of the world around you. This bonding experience that takes place between the caregiver and the child is really priceless and is often lost when the child is stuck in the back seat of an automobile. We also know that this physical activity, often in the morning on the way to school, boosts their academic performance. We use stimulating brain activity, setting them up for the day academically, and these studies have been done in many countries. Children that walk or cycle to school in the morning get their cardiovascular system moving, get their synapses popping in their brain. They perform well on tests, they retain information more. So it's not just about a physical benefit, there's also a mental benefit. And further to the mental benefit, of course, it's often said that cycling is one of the keys to happiness. It is because you're getting social contact, you're getting exercise, you're having access to the city, and you're in charge of your own freedom and autonomy. And physical exercise is unfortunately something that many kids are lacking now because, well, we're shuttling them everywhere in a car, and so they're losing out on and getting into unhealthy habits very early in their life. So yeah, as it's been said, you know, Dutch kids are among the happiest in the world in a large part, and having experienced this as the father of 2 children who moved to the Netherlands, suddenly the kids are in charge of their own mobility as young as 8 or 10 years old. They're able to cycle to school, to friends' houses, to classes. They no longer need mom or dad to chaperone them, to drive them, to supervise them. And they are within their friends, getting to know their neighbors, getting to know their neighborhoods. They're learning to make mistakes, and my son, very early in this process, fell and broke his arm. He learned from his mistake, falling off the cycle path, but they're in an environment where these mistakes don't result in serious injury or death. And then lastly, of course, happy kids also means happy parents, because the parents aren't responsible for the care trips anymore. They're not driving their kids or supervising them all around the city. They have a lot more free time, and in particular this is a feminist issue because the moms are responsible for the mobility of care. So the more we can do to enable independent kids, the more we're freeing men and women from the burden of parental chaperoning. So that's a very quick introduction into this topic. Like I said, if you want to learn more, our website, our social media channels are great sources of information. And we'll hop along to the next session with Moniek.
Yeah, so unfortunately we only have 1 hour because actually sometimes we give workshops as well that takes like a day or 2 days that we really can dive into topics, but it gives a brief overview of everything. So as Chris was mentioning his experience as a father, I would like to share actually my own experiences as a child who grew up in the Netherlands. And this is actually my road, how I went to my elementary school. So my house was around 600 meters from my school. And on the left top corner you see that I was opening the door and go out. And actually the only dangerous part was the road with cars, which also has a break in between. So you can stop and the cars will go by. And in the school hours, when the schools were opening or when they were closing, we had volunteering parents that were guiding the children safe to the school. And actually I was I think an age of 6, 7, 8 years old, I was already together with some friends without parents walking to school. And in the right corner you see that this was my elementary school. And there were actually no parking spots for cars. So the parents who had to bring their children by car, because they were living sometimes in the farms, they had to park their car around 500 meters from the school somewhere else and walk from there to the school. So the whole area around the school was actually car-free, which I think enables a lot of safety, and I think traffic safety, I believe, is not an ambition, but is the key for every street has to be safe. So this is my elementary school. If I then hop on to my high school, let's see. My high school was 8 kilometers from my house, and I took the bike. Here you have a video, you see a video how actually we as children were entering the high school. You see that a lot of space was allocated for biking parking spots. And it was very nice because every morning I was cycling together with my friends. We had fun, we already, freshed up for the school. You even see people chatting before entering the school. It was really nice, social. Also after school we were free to, go by friends or go into the city. Of course it's a completely different situation as Greece, but it's I think adds a lot of the happiness of children. And I remember that in the beginning it was only half of the plaza, and then gradually they filled up the whole plaza for bike parking spots. There was also kind of a structure that when you entered, you had to park it as furthest as possible to the back, so you didn't make an obstacle for others. There were kind of certain rules how to park your bike. So let's continue. I'm wondering about Greece. I tried to do some research. There were not so many researches and papers found, but I found a research from 2017. And actually it shows that it's a comparison of Greece with other countries, that in Greece the alternative modes of active mobility actually for children to go to school is lacking. And the conclusion is that there should be further examination. I'm actually wondering how you yourself went to your elementary school. Did you go by car? Did you go by foot? By bicycle? Like, could you share some? Maybe, yeah.
I was going by bike.
By bike. Okay. Okay. And you were in
I was brought up at the little village.
Yeah.
So there was a dilemma: walking or bike. So.
And how was it for you? Like, how do you look back on that time?
As I look back, I look now at the back.
Yeah.
I look now at the village when I go to my village. All the children go by car. And this is very sad for me.
So now, but in the past they went by bike.
Yes,
so it changed over time as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we must go backwards after this.
So you see more and more that parents are bringing their.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. What about you?
Yes. I have a similar experience. I grew up in a city, let's say 70,000, so it was not exactly a small city. It was like you, let's say, walking to the elementary school, which was like a few hundred meters, and a couple of kilometers was high school, and I had to use the bike. Otherwise, I had to walk and spend more time in the sleepless. So it was my decision. But I think it's also a social issue. At that point, the parents, there was no any, let's say, quote-unquote rule that they take care of the children's transportation.
Yeah.
They didn't have to, just like that. So we had to do something ourselves. The new generation, and we as parents, came up with this new mentality that we need to take care of the children.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we feel obliged to do is to do exactly what you said, to do transportation. And anyway, I agree to many things that
Chris, yeah.
Chris.
Chris, absolutely agree with you.
But I'm happy actually for this, because if I speak to other Greek parents or even grandparents, they are saying to me, yeah, we went by bike or by foot. Well now, my age, they're saying, no, by car because it's dangerous, and it's a whole different experience. And as children now are used to go by car, they will bring their own children by, so it repeats the future, so it's important to. So I live very close to a school in Piraeus, and this is actually the situation when the school is out. I hope you cannot relate, but I think you can relate to this, that when the school is out, you see the cars. Actually on the left side, the cars are parked, and on the right side, they are driving by very slowly. Children are just hopping between the cars, and it's really dangerous, in my opinion. Cars are parked on the crossings. It's almost impossible to go safely. The cars here on this road are driving very fast, so sometimes I see really children like doing this maneuver, and I understand that parents are afraid, but it's also a problem. Yeah. And actually, if it's already dangerous for us, imagine that if you're a child, you're smaller, and actually if you look from the perspective of a child, you cannot see what's on the other side of the car. So actually we should design the streets more from the perspective of the child, and take a walk in the actual street to see what is safe and what is not safe. I think this is also a little video, that I made. And later on, it's a workshop, so we would like to do some interactive parts later on to try to find solutions for this specific area, how we can make it more safe, with not even a lot of effort, but just, Yeah, and I think this is typical that actually we want our children to go by foot or by bike, but it's too dangerous, and many people are saying this, it's too much traffic for Alexandros to walk to school, so we drive. And it's repeating. So these are my observations, and now I think Chris will take over for what we can do about it.
Yeah, the intention of this section was just to give you some inspiration of cities around the world that are taking safe routes to school seriously. It's not just the Dutch. We're not here to just tell you that the Dutch are amazing, although they are, but there are plenty of other places that are also prioritizing this, and I think it's also important to acknowledge the current political climate that we find ourselves in. There's been quite a rush to reallocate road space during the pandemic, and what we're seeing now in 2023, 2024 is a bit of a political pushback. The left there is a political cartoon from Lisbon where the bike-friendly mayor was elected out of office by a pro-car mayor that was going to give space back to the car in the city. And we're seeing the same story in a lot of different cities. In Berlin, they've halted their cycling plan altogether because of a right-of-center coalition that has banned the removal of any on-street car parking spaces. My hometown, former hometown of Vancouver, we have a right-of-center political coalition that's ripping out bike lanes. Bikes have become the new culture war, or one of the new culture wars, unfortunately, but what we're seeing is this new movement, perhaps in response to that, pivoting by campaigners and professionals to put children front and center in these discussions, just like the Dutch did with the Stop the Kindermoord movement in the 1970s. The Kidical Mass in the top left corner is a new kind of Sunday afternoon joyous political ride that started in Hamburg in Germany, but is spreading to cities all across Europe and North America. The bottom left is the bike bus movement, so we're seeing parents organizing themselves in groups and escorting their children as a pack safely to school on bicycle. Of course, in the top right, there's training classes like governments and departments of education are teaching kids cycling skills in the hope that they can inspire the next generation to change their habits and start nagging their parents to allow them or take them by bike. And then the school streets movement I'm going to spend a fair bit of time on because it is really changing the streetscape. Just 100, 200, 300 meters outside of a school, cities around the world are reimagining their spaces, these spaces from noisy, traffic-clogged, dangerous places for parents to pick and drop off their kid right outside their front door to more of a social space where the pickup and drop-off can take place much more safely. Amsterdam's been doing school streets before school streets existed. I think this is a really nice example on Van Veldstraat near the museum plane. If you're ever in Amsterdam, take a look because there's 2 elementary schools on this 2-block street. It's completely pedestrianized. The car traffic is removed. There's play equipment. And during pickup and drop-off, it's an incredibly busy part of the city with parents and children. Perhaps one city that's not suffering from this political pushback is Paris. If you've been paying attention, they've been doing remarkably well in the last 8 to 10 years with Mayor Hidalgo. And the school streets have been one of the forefront of her policy. They have done almost 200 now with a plan to complete 300 in the next 2 years. And really, when you show the before and after, I don't think many parents would pick the before picture. It's just telling a story and having the vision and the commitment to improve the health of children, to see it become a reality.
Sorry, isn't it nearly the same street?
It's the same street.
That's the exact same street.
Yeah. So now you see also how much space one car takes from the street. And cars are usually 90% of the time are parked standing still. It's the same street.
Here's another one. There's a joke in Lyon that Paris gets all the attention and the headlines and they steal all the ideas from Lyon. But they also have quite an ambitious School Streets program, they've done over 100 local schools. Again, this is the exact same street from just a couple of years ago. Well, 15,000 students so far have been affected positively by the rolling out of these Rue d'école in French. Barcelona is also, has its own School Streets program, and similarly to Paris, they've done over 200. I think what's interesting about these is, that it's not just about the school pickup and drop off. As you can see, we actually visited on a Saturday afternoon, and it was lined with terraces and children playing football and elderly people out for a walk. These have become new public squares hives of physical and social activity. But again, it does take a little bit of political will to see it through. And then Lisbon is another nice example. This is actually a workshop that Moniek and I did together last year with the municipality of Lisbon. With the political challenges that existed with the current mayor, they decided to really hone in on the bike bus and the safe routes to school, and they created this pop-up school street outside a local secondary school that I have hopefully a video of that we can show you. So really kind of cheap tactical materials. This was more to show the students, the teachers, the parents, the administrators, the politicians what was possible. They had musicians, they had all kinds of other activities. There's Moniek standing to the right there. And it was, really quite something to be there and to hear the children, see them interacting. When you hear that all kids want to do is stay inside and be on their screens, when we actually give them opportunities to get outside and be with their friends, they are amongst the first to do so. Next example I have is perhaps a little closer to home in Tirana. I think proof that these school streets initiatives don't have to cost a lot of money. They're investing €1 million a year, roughly. And it's not a full pedestrianization or full banning of cars in this case. In a lot of cases, they're just putting out concrete bollards, barriers, and then repainting that street with the help of the children and some local artists, just to reduce that danger and that conflict point outside of those elementary schools. And then proof that it's just not a European phenomenon. I was in New York a couple of weeks ago, and this is a pandemic project as well. And again, it's a larger open streets project, nearly 5 kilometers of this 34th Avenue in Queens in New York, where the city of New York closed it down to cars during the pandemic so people could get outside and get physical and social activity when they were in lockdown. But it's since been taken over by the community, by volunteers who are running this. And it includes all different elements along the street, art, street vendors, and seating. But there is a lot, 3 or 4 different schools along this street that have really benefited from this pedestrianization. So I was there to kind of capture the pickup on a Friday afternoon. Shame the sound's not working because you can hear the kids playing and the birds chirping. And it's a very different and relaxing experience, but yeah. So I'll close on, the point I was trying to make, I guess, was it was the Stop the Kindermoord, Stop the Child Murder that really changed the streets in the Netherlands 50 years ago. And what we're seeing now is perhaps a new global protest movement and a new initiative, a new priority on the safety and well-being of children that may ultimately cause the breakthrough that we need to start reallocating space and making the changes that are necessary to our mobility and our transport systems. So with that, I'll hand things back to Moniek.
Great examples, thank you. I would like to talk about a few elements about what can we actually do to create these school zones. There are plenty, but I chose 4 of them. The one is traffic calming, effective engagement with parents and children, how to accommodate the parking, and recognizable features. So to start with traffic calming, these are just some examples to think about if you want to create a more safer area around the schools. For example, the threshold to limit the speed of the cars, or even you don't have to close the whole street for cars all the time, but you can think of, okay, maybe between 8 and 9 a.m. and when the school is out, close the street, inform the people around, inform the neighborhood, and a few weeks later everybody knows between those times the school street is closed and children can move around. Recognizable features, these are some examples from Belgium, the Netherlands, really colorful features, just elements around routes that are often used by children where they walk or where they bike. On the right side you see the octopus. It's a program in Belgium, and I'm not sure how many, but many schools are now implementing the octopus plan, it's called. And actually, drivers know directly when they see the octopus, oh, the school is nearby, let's drive a bit slower, slow down. Even just signage around the school zone for drivers to know, be careful. Well, this is something I think very important for Greece as well, since it takes some time to reduce the cars. As a school, it's important, or as a municipality, to really designate a designated parking spot where the parents can drop off the children and then walk to school, and make it a plan. So inform the parents as well, okay, this is the route that the children can go, and no parking around the school. Well, as Chris mentioned, happy children are happy parents, but parents are also having the most influence on how the children go to school, of course. So it's very important to engage the parents as well, like what are unsafe elements in the school route, or where do we need to do something to make it safer. And it also creates some ownership from themselves to really feel like, okay, it's my street, and for me and my child, and we can actually do something about it. I'm not sure if in Greece this already happens. In Lisbon, for example, on the left, I think Chris took the picture from the bike train. No, it's COVID time. It's another picture. No, it's not your picture. It's a bike train and then a walk train. And this is also an idea for parents that can voluntarily walk to school and walk around specific locations and pick up the children and walk all together to school. So you don't have to drive them all individually, but you can walk together. Is this happening in Greece already, from your experience?
No. Not yet.
Could it happen in Greece?
Soon.
The walking bus, yes.
The walking bus, yeah.
We hope it will happen soon.
I mentioned already that street designers really sometimes forget to look from the perspective of the child. This is during the workshop we did last year in Lisbon. These weird boxes that people hold in front of them, they have actually a mirror. So when you look at the box, you see the mirror, and you see from this side, let's say, the street. So once you walk through the street, you experience really how it is to be a child. And afterwards we discussed how it was, and really, some simple ideas came out, but if you didn't do it, you wouldn't figure out what was actually an unsafe point. And all together we looked around the schools, and we printed some maps, and we went drawing on them and implementing some new ideas to create a safer school street. This is a pilot, but I'm not sure how much time we have left, otherwise I will skip.
It's 18 past.
I'll go quick. This is a project I did in Batumi in Georgia, around 1.5 to 2 years ago. And I will go quickly. Now, the situation before was not good. Parents were bringing their children to school by car. Accidents happened, even one child died in front of the school. So the people and the parents and the school decided we have to do something here. So we organized some workshops together with the children, the parents and the municipality, all together to find out what are dangerous spots for the children to walk. They were really enthusiastic and they really felt like, a travel inspector going to the schools all day. And based on their ideas, we actually redesigned the street to come up with a pilot. So there were some different ideas and we tried them all out in real life half a year later. So this was like a week, 7 days. We closed off the streets and we really implemented the designs based on the feedback of the children and the parents. And we involved the children as well during the pilot. So sometimes cars wanted to drive in and then the children said, stop, no, you cannot go here because we want a safe street. And it was actually impressive because all the car drivers were like, okay, good job. And yeah. Of course, there were some people not happy, but if you inform them, they were, and we made some nice activities together, painting the streets. Here you see again the before and after situations. And afterwards we created a playbook actually. We put some of them there, I printed some, for other schools in Batumi or Tbilisi, Georgian cities, what they can actually do to do the same pilot like this. And I think for Greece or for other schools that want to do the same, it's very interesting to have a look at it as well. So if we have some time left, I think it's nice to think a little bit and do something. I printed some maps of the school area that I showed with the videos, and I would like to ask you if you could stand up and maybe in groups we can work together and look at the map, what are actually dangerous spots and how can we improve this area. And here I have some these are some ideas that I will show. So it's about this area. And if you look around here, the children are running in front of the cars and they really drive pretty fast. I'm not sure if you know the area, Piraeus.
That's what we're trying to guess what we're about to do.
So this could be some ideas. So we have printed some maps here. How many people are there? Let's see. Maybe we can work in groups of like 3?
6, 9, 12. So two groups of 6.
2 groups of 6, and for 5 minutes we can have some discussions. Of course, you can speak in Greek, so doesn't have to be in English.
Zoom maps are on the
You can go around it. And there are some snacks as well, and I think we can,
Θα σε πάρω μετά από ένα συνάντηση. Να σου πω για το σύνθημα του παλιού, για το Bruntlett Channel.
can look at the pilot projects and the trials. Really other people that they it's good to gather with the crowd and see what are they, because like you walk train.
Yeah, I'll give you my card.
Okay, feel free to post some dangerous. And for your information, like here are some zebra and the crossings. But yeah, they are. Basically, I think 30 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. But they go fast. This one and here. Yeah, both sides. Yeah. But then you need to make this
yes, you need to make a safe route.
Two ways. This one is one way. But this one is two ways. This is a main street? No.
Maybe the situation should stop here before entering this area.
Yeah, because otherwise it's yeah, another important strip that most children more than 15 minutes walk. So you can also think about maybe no cars allowed. But it's a thing, yeah. And maybe to think of also the for example, here, so even cars, so that would be a dangerous problem. And I think in Greece that's a problem. So with a little bit of we can improve small things with payments or with the colorful, like, it's a different way of thinking, so it's nice to
we utilize it, but we don't preserve it. So they don't maintain. They don't do work. Yeah. So we have to have solutions because the spend fades away very quickly, and they don't do it. So you have those markings if you have noticed lanes and arrows you can see. But then again, crossings, even if there are crossings, drivers don't expect easy.
it's an issue. And then I think, okay, where does it start? Like politics, but also if you look at many for the drivers, they're also the ones that don't. So maybe they go. Yeah.
strange place to stay.
Between 7:30 and 8:30, and parents here as dogs, something, and must be designed some there. I don't know if there are any access here or no. There's no access. No. So.
But it's not so far. It's.
No. Yes.
But far, but they want to be just outside.
Yeah, it's.
Big mentality is this way.
And everything. Do we want a big mentality or unsafe? You know.
Additionally, I would say the traffic down the measures. With road marks and handicap signage.
Electric like raised.
Moniek,
Or maybe this would be converted to like shared space streets with very low streets with grass and yeah.
But if you look at the school streets, you sometimes it's struggling to see how big is a street actually is with both sides of the roadside.
Yeah.
This street doesn't give any access only to the school, the church, the
just one person.
sidewalks in order to have a safe
So this is four-lane, two-lane.
But if you can see also here everywhere. You give me 1 centimeter, they will park.
Καλό θα είναι να αφήσεις εδώ και να περπατήσω. Για μένα πρέπει να τα αφήσεις εδώ τα παιδιά. Και αυτά τα παιδιά να ασφαλιστεί διαδρομή.
Is that it's not, they're not designed in order for the park and drive. So this is why we need to corner so that people cannot really park either on the pedestrian side either on the street. So this would be also the design of the pavement.
better visibility.
Yes. More space. Because our city is not designed to have parks. So either there must be a solution here, but if you're in the supermarket, because here this is too far. So there must be a solution for parking spaces as well. You cannot like making pedestrians is not the solution. So maybe for the school, but not for the everyday life. So they would park with the pedestrians.
Το παιδί από εδώ μόνο του. Δεν το φέρει αυτοκίνητο, δεν το φέρει μόνο.
Do you feel like it's changing the way people's children go to school? It's becoming more of a car, or is it like...
It will change. we are 50 years behind.
Yeah.
Well, but it's important.
Sooner or later, we will get there.
And therefore it's good to think about not only for the kids, but also for...
Element. Accommodating.
And the parking. Yeah.
What is the solution?
I believe it's building up the parking somewhere, but not close to the school, so around 5 minutes. And even for the teachers, the teachers also can work.
If we get parking for class, we make it more difficult for the person to pay.
I think the behavior of teachers is crucial. Here in Greece, we have in our neighborhoods. We have a school like this, pedestrian street, and a major part of teachers go with their car, their motor, in this street. Yes.
We have to adjust the quality.
Show by example.
We are here. We are materialistic. We need your car. We need your things. So how
You can show your car with life.
We need them now and some for others. Some leaders
We have to be out of here by a certain time.
some parents.
Okay.
And they need to understand, because information, if I'm speaking for myself, if I don't understand, but we need full information. Why do we go to
Why is this good? Yes. Yeah. We want to punish the causes. No.
I think it will be lots of years we have conversation about these things. We have, let's say, seminars or...
because urban mobility is
Yes.
nowadays very hot topic.
Many
Yeah,
years.
but in other countries,
Ongoing for many years, but
For many years.
it doesn't bring any result. During the Olympic Games,